After giving the Resident Evil 2 Remake one-shot demo a couple of shots, I wanted to talk about my impressions about the demo and of course whether or not it holds up to the experience of the original Resident Evil 2. So before we get too deep into this video, it should be noted that the Resident Evil 2 Remake one-shot demo doesn't give us too much to truly go off of when it comes to the full experience of the game. You can find the shotgun, there's thoughts that you can probably find a Magnum if you can find whatever it takes to open up the safe, and of course that little room, which it's right back in the same room that it was in. But we think that, well, people are thinking that that's where the Magnum is because you do have the ability to find Magnum ammo within the demo, so it would only be presumed that of course it's in the safe as we can't get into it. Now I don't think it will be there in the full game because as it says when you open up the demo that this is an early slice of the game, so definitely I don't think it's going to be there then. So even if we find it, of course it won't make it easier for us to get it in the main game. So when we talk about the impressions I'm going to give, I want to break this down into elements of sound, gameplay, and of course visual presentation. And I want to start with visual presentation. So a lot of people were worried about, of course, the remake coming out and having these graphics in a sense of the RE engine and the graphics of modern time games. And the reason why they had a problem with this is because the pre-rendered backgrounds of the Resident Evil games was heavily impactful towards the atmosphere those games set. Like, you were able to see things in certain points of the original Resident Evil 2 that were just out of your reach, and of course you could see them, and like it kind of did a little bit of world building and kind of story building as well. Like, you kind of got to look at certain things and see how they played out because of these pre-rendered backgrounds. Well, in Resident Evil 2 Remake, you don't get that same kind of presentation in the sense that, of course, the presentation is exactly the same. However, the level of detail and the level of course, crafting that went into the RPD station has a lot more going for it within the Resident Evil 2 Remake than it did in the original, whereas everything felt like a freaking corridor or some huge open space, so that way they could put a horde of zombies, even though sometimes hordes was in the corridors, just so that way they can fit a horde of zombies into, of course, a certain space, so that way it'll be more of a challenge for the player to progress into certain areas. It seems like here what they're doing is like every corridor is kind of expanded essentially, in which it seems like you can fit like 3 Leons going across in every corridor, so that leaves a lot of space. But when you think about, of course, the movement of the zombies within this game, they move pretty fucking quickly, so definitely you need all of that space so that way Leon can maneuver and you don't run into situations to where the corridor is so short that when you're trying to turn around, if you don't use the quick turnaround, which makes a return in this game, if you don't use that to just simply turn around, of course if you try to run and do a little circle, a little, of course, 360, then of course it'll take you a while to turn around if they didn't expand upon that. So the presentation here it still works, it's still pretty good. I'm still loving the way that everything looks, and everything seems to be brought over into these graphics perfectly. So when I say perfectly, I mean that the detail and everything, it doesn't seem like they missed a beat with anything that they had in the original. Here, like when you go into the little conference room in the RPD station, it looks exactly like what you would think the original conference room would look like if it was in HD, or if it had graphics like today back then. So that's what I mean by it carries over pretty well. So the graphics are good. I give them A plus for the graphics. The graphics on the zombies, oh man, it's so beautiful. We have the things like the gore aspect to it. We have the new limbs system to where you can shoot a limb and a limb will fall off, and I had a lot of fun with that because I was trying to speed through it at certain points just so that way I can have multiple playthroughs. And of course once I learned where certain items was, then I could just shoot off straight to those items. But here's the thing about it, when you have a system like that, it kind of, and this is something I just want to bring up before I get into the gameplay, because it's something I'm going to speak about more in full in the gameplay, but it kind of holds the zombies back. And I know that, of course, with the RE engine, the whole point of the RE engine was to bring a more realistic, more physics-based type of gameplay to the Resident Evil series. This is why Resident Evil 7 was so, like, I guess you could say realistic in a sense, but in Resident Evil 7, we also had the ability for characters' limbs to fall off or for them to explode and then just come back together again. So it makes sense that, of course, the zombies were programmed or, of course, they were designed to be able to have their limbs come off and detach. But I was finding it pretty easy, and this is the problem I have. I was finding it pretty easy to, of course, just shoot the zombies rather than in their head and not get a confirmed headshot. I found it rather easy to just shoot them in the kneecaps and just let them fall, or of course, shoot them in the head and then they'll fall over after a couple of shots. And then, of course, you can walk straight by them because there is a little frame window. And when I say frame window, I mean that there's a level of invincibility or inactive frames when they fall to where you can pretty much get past them. Now, I don't know if there's going to be special zombies in which, of course, if you do this to them and they fall, they'll immediately lunge up at you again. So it's like, I don't know. But when it comes to what I was playing in the demo, it doesn't seem like they're that efficient when it comes to like those type of situations. It doesn't seem like they plan for those kind of situations. But I mean, anyone who's played Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 5 or Resident Evil 6 knows that if you shoot a zombie or if you shoot a enemy in the legs or in an area in which, of course, they have to kind of be stunned for a little while, you can pretty much run straight past them. And you can do this even for hordes. So when I got trapped by the two zombies after you, of course, go into the room and try to save Officer Elliot, when I was trying to go back through the corridor and they came around the corner, of course, I was able to shoot them in the leg multiple times, and that worked almost every single time. Other times, I tried to shoot them in the head and stuff and see how effective it was. Now, you have to, I guess you could say we've gone ahead and moved into gameplay. Now, you have to get your shots aimed perfectly at their skulls. Like, so I think it's like the center of their skull or it's somewhere close to the center. It's somewhere like between their two eyebrows that you have to shoot if you want to pop their heads open. And oh man, that is so satisfying. Every time I saw it, because it didn't happen a lot, but every time I saw it, I was like, yo, that was some beautiful shit. Now, when it comes to ammunition, and this is starting to get into the survival aspects of the game, I'm going to talk about this in not a negative light, but I'm going to talk about this as a caution type of, deal. When I say caution, I mean like expect it probably in the full game, but don't take my word for it because we don't know if there's a difficulty. Well, there's going to be a difficulty setting, but what I'm saying is expect this to probably still be the case because of the game that it is. So when you have ammunition as abundant as how it is in this game, I was able to find ammunition every time I needed it, legitimately every single time. And I don't know if that's because they've had so many people play the demo that they knew exactly how much ammunition they needed to put into the game, but first of all, you don't need all of the ammunition to get past the zombies. So I feel like they could tone down the ammunition just a little bit, even though we're so close to release. They couldn't do it now, but if there's a harder difficulty mode and that alleviates this problem to really give you that survival horror genre feeling, then fine. But as of the demo, of course, the ammunition was, I felt too abundant. I felt like it really would give someone who doesn't have an impression of the Resident Evil series that this is a game to where you shoot at the zombies like you're supposed to kill every single thing, rather than the original game's feeling of, oh shit, there's a horde here, but there's a licker over there, and then if I go down this hallway, there's like this one singular zombie. I want to think about more, how do I want to use this ammunition? And this led to players making multiple different choices. Either they did their best to avoid the horde and, of course, made their way through that corridor and then had to keep on dealing with that problem every time they go back and forth, or they did so with the licker, in which, of course, they decided to just run straight past the licker, ignoring it until later on when they have to go to that door to get, I think, that little crank thing, if I'm not mistaken. So until they had to go and do that, a lot of people just skipped out on the licker after their first playthrough because they realized a licker takes, what, I think 9 pistol bullets, and that's pretty much like a full magazine in the original game, and I think that's close to a full magazine here, but I think it's 12 in this game. So of course it's not exactly the same. However, I'm pretty sure if a licker does wind up being in the same position in Resident Evil 2 Remake, then of course it's going to probably take even more bullets to kill, as we've seen with Claire's gameplay. But it doesn't seem like that's going to be a problem in the Resident Evil 2 remake. Now, I will state that unlike the original, you get certain bits of ammunition as you go along. So, no longer does an ammunition pack or a case of ammunition give you 10 bullets. It now gives you a range from what I've seen 2 to 5 and 10. So 2, 5, 10. It's one of those two or one of those. And then sometimes I think sometimes I saw 3 as well, but I'm not 100% certain. But I do remember I think I was at like 5 bullets, and then somehow I wound up at like 8 when I tried to reload one time, or I wound up at 9. So maybe it's 2, 3, 4, 5. Um, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I think it'll give you somewhere around like 8 or 10. So it's really random what amount you'll get. So I guess you could say like that's another way that they're probably going to alleviate it, probably in a harder difficulty in which the full 10 is probably going to be harder to find. I feel like that's going to be the case. So with the ammunition problem, I'm pretty sure a lot of people may bring this up too. With the ammunition problem, I think that that's what they're going to do, and that was the way they wanted to alleviate giving you too much ammunition to the point that you can just run and gun the whole damn game. And I think that that's by changing the amount of bullets ammunition cases actually give you. Now there are a bunch of, I guess you can say, quote unquote caches to where like you can run into a room and find all of these lockers, and these lockers for some reason all have ammunition within them. I mean, yes, they're in a police station, but you would think that with the crisis that's going on right now, motherfuckers would be grabbing all the ammunition they fucking can. Why the fuck would it just be in a damn locker that seems to be unlocked in the first place? But still, that also added to the problem just a little bit. And I'm not saying giving ammunition to players is bad, because of course you're gonna need ammunition at some point to progress in the story. All I'm saying is that if you have so much ammunition and then the zombies are easy to kill, or the zombies are easy to maneuver around by simply just shooting them in the kneecap like 2 to 3 times, then of course it's really not gonna be a problem, because once you impair the zombies, I have yet to see them actually get up again. So once you truly impair them and they fall to the ground and they have to crawl, even if you leave the room, come back, they'll still be crawling. It doesn't seem like the game resets them to where they get back up, which is good in my personal opinion, because this leads to consistency with the gameplay, in which of course 1 minute you know that a zombie in a certain room is crawling, so you decide to leave the room, and then you come back to the room, the motherfucker isn't randomly standing up when you just came into the room. Oh, I didn't see him this time, and just kept on moving and stuff to go where you were trying to go, and then next thing you know, 5 minutes later he's fucking grabbing you and biting into your damn neck. So I think that that's cool, because like it has that consistency, and it makes it feel more realistic that if a zombie that's been impaired is crawling, then of course it's going to remain to be crawling even when you return back to that area. So there's a lot of good stuff with Resident Evil 2 Remake. Now, we didn't get to fight the Lickers and stuff for me to determine anything about them, but let's talk about the design of the character as well. So Leon is the only character we got to play as, and to say that Leon and Claire have just a little bit of variety when it comes to their two gameplay styles. Leon has a shotgun and Claire has the grenade launcher. And with Claire's grenade launcher, from what we've seen thus far, all of the different types of grenades is going to return. The incendiary, the acid, and of course the traditional grenade are all going to return. Whether or not they're going to add new stuff to that, who knows? But I do know that they have added like sound, I think. I don't know what the hell sound would do to zombies, because why would they care? But they've added sound and flashbangs, which gives you the ability to skip out on, of course, getting hit by the zombies. And you can also shove a full-time grenade into the mouth of zombies. But I've only seen this as Claire, whereas Leon is going to have his survival knives, or are they called survival knives? I think they are. So yeah, he'll have his like survival knife, and I think that's the only defensive option that you have as Leon when the zombies grab you, whereas Claire has like these different bunch of options where she has like the grenade and stuff. And I don't know if this is something that they wanted to do because Leon is a male character versus Claire being a female character. She has a lot more different options for like different situations and stuff to get out of, because I guess you could say I guess they figured it would make sense that Leon could stab a zombie and then push it off, and then Claire would probably need like something like a bomb to like be an equalizer in the situation. So I'm guessing that, of course, when it comes to those little small changes, those were more so just like aesthetic touches. And when it comes to this demo itself, I've only had the opportunity to really, of course, use the survival knife in a sense of, oh my god, a zombie grabbed me, and then of course I stabbed it, and then of course I stabbed it in the chest because what the fuck. So that was the only time I really got to do any of that kind of stuff because again the zombies are a little bit too easy. I'm hoping in a harder mode for the game that they take a little bit more on those shots that of course to where you can blow their head off. Oh my god, that's so satisfying. I'm hoping that that requires you to actually shoot directly center to the forehead. So now I guess you could say with the gameplay and the graphics talked about, sound. The thing about sound here is that I didn't remember hearing like too much music in the Resident Evil 2 remake. Things for me seemed a little bit too quiet, so I can't really say for certain. I don't remember ever hearing any kind of music. Although I do know that the original soundtrack will be returning in, of course, the remake because they're not giving it away. It's one of the pre-order bonuses I think for the $75 edition. I don't know exactly what that edition is called, but the $75 edition, I know that they're giving you the original soundtrack in that bundle. So I think that that would be good because I definitely love the original music for Resident Evil 2. The fucking RPD station theme is perfect, man. I love that theme, and I want to be able to play with that theme. So I'm definitely getting that edition of the game, just so that way I can listen to, of course, the original music when I play it. But as far as sound is concerned, I don't remember hearing too much sound. Now, the sound of the zombies, the sound of when they actually push against doors is damn good. I remember one time when I was playing, I think I got this on stream when I played it on stream. I think this was when I was playing by myself. They were banging on the damn door, and it was weird as fuck because the sound that it was making was like, damn, nigga, like it legitimately scared me because it felt like, of course, a zombie was right beside me because that's how fucking loud it was, and that's how like I guess you could say the reverberation in the room. I guess they have some type of technology to where that happens. It like presented the sound as if like something was fucking coming from like the other side, and I was in the cage of the gun cache area. So it was like, holy shit, like are they like right there or are they still coming through the door? And it took a while, but eventually they did bust down the door, and I was like, oh, they're still over there. And I was like, thank God. So obviously the sound for like the enemies and the environment is good, but when it comes to the sound like music and stuff, I still have yet to hear anything like that. And maybe that's because I need to go into the game, use the options to turn down the sound effects. Maybe they were too loud while I was playing the game, but I have multiple accounts, so of course I'll still be diving into the Resident Evil 2 remake demo. Oh, and I forgot to mention there's this new fortification within Resident Evil 2 remake, in which of course you can like repair windows and stuff like that, to keep zombies from coming in. Now you do get to see within the demo a couple of times how effective the zombies are at breaking in, so you probably are going to want to use that a lot, and they do provide you with a lot of wood and stuff from what I saw in the demo, to where the few areas where you can tell a lot of zombies are going to be coming in and being problematic while you make your way through the RPD station, you can see a lot of those areas, and it seems like there's enough wood, at least in the demo, to get rid of those areas. So I'm guessing that this is either a beginner mode difficulty or this is the normal mode difficulty. This isn't like the mid range to hard mode, obviously. So you could pretty much board things up, and it's very simple. You don't have to get the wood, then you also have to find like a pack of nails, then you also have to find like a hammer that's still good. So like the hammer has like one of those quality bars and stuff, so every time you use it the quality of the hammer goes down. No, all you need to do is get the wood, and then of course the rest is history. So thank God for that, because it would have been stupid if we would have had to find like nails to fortify stuff up. So that's my thoughts on like the little fortification, the new addition that they added to it. I wonder if they're gonna add like a little not side mission I wonder if they're gonna add like a little mini game to the game, in which of course you can play. Oh my god, why? I hope they do this to where you can play in the RPD station, and of course you know the RPD station has like a lot of windows that zombies break into. It would be cool if they like allow like in the future for there to be co-op, because we're gonna have Ada, Claire, Leon, Hunk. Sherry isn't gonna count. We can have Sherry's mom though. I forgot her name. We could have, what's his name? Kendo, I think from the gun shop. that guy, I don't know his name. We could have him, and I guess if they add even more characters like Officer Elliot and Brenna, like imagine having like a mode to where you can run around and fortify the RPD station and the zombies come in waves. That would be sick. I think that would be sick because it looked like they already have a system there if they're planning on doing something like that in the future. I think Resident Evil 2 Remake is going to be a game they probably let sit for probably a couple years, so at least 1 or 2 before we get the announcement of Resident Evil 8 or Revelations 3. So I'm hoping that they do something like that with that. Like, there's a lot that can be done with that now in the Resident Evil series because they added that fortification system. So give us the ability to, like, play with other players and make it something to where we can border up even doors and stuff. You see what I'm saying? And keep zombies out. And, we progress with different waves to where at the beginning you may start off, you can never start off in the center of the RPD station. So at the beginning you can probably start off like in one of the corridors, like the little area, the halls and stuff we can go through in in the demo. And then of course you'll have like the zombies and shit, and they're like in hordes and they're just fucking coming at you, man. Because if you go outside and look through the front door, it seems like, of course, there's going to be a lot of zombies coming because those motherfuckers, they can't even be killed. That's the crazy shit. So I'm pretty sure that's because they're not rendered into the actual game yet. They're just there. I mean, they're rendered into the game, but they're not. They don't have like actual hitboxes, I guess you could say, yet, or health bars that you can actually deplete by shooting them. So pretty much, of course, they seem like they're going to be the zombies that are going to enter, like we saw in the original game, to where once you get to a certain point in the story, I think this is more so when you start to head into the sewers, of course the zombies start to flow into the RPD station. And I think that was because, of course, they wanted you to stay, or pretty much it was meant to be a visual telltale sign that you were meant to progress and go forward rather than turning back. So I think that that's what that was for. And I think when that happens in this game, of course, then all of the fortification stuff that you did ceases to matter. And I think that's what the zombies at the gate pretty much represent. So this is me, your boy Amaziah, giving you guys a little bit of my thoughts on the Resident Evil 2 remake. I know my thoughts was a little bit scrambled, but I wanted to touch on as much as possible. And the reason why I wanted to talk on as much about it as much as possible is because I wanted to give like you guys just a little bit of a, hey, I love the original game. This shit holds up well. I think it's perfect for the experience that we were waiting on, especially since they didn't give us just, Resident Evil 1 remake, Resident Evil 2 gameplay. Like, you know what I'm saying? They didn't do the Resident Evil 1 style of remake to where they just completely remade the game, added some new stuff, and now Resident Evil 1 remake is seen as probably the best remake of all time. But rather, of course, they decided to put a whole new spin on it, and that whole new spin on Resident Evil 2 still holds up well. It still holds up well, at least from what the demo has shown. The zombies a little too easy, but of course I feel like in harder difficulty modes they may be a hell of a lot more viable because they are slow, but then some of them are fast, and they do seem like they can keep up at least with Leon a little bit. So if they're harder to kill in harder difficulties, which makes perfect sense, that sounds logical, then of course it may take a while for you to actually get an opportunity to even try and shoot certain zombies and stuff. Like, you'll have to actually give yourself some good distance if you want to turn around and be able to shoot them. So thank you guys for tuning in, and peace the heck out.